Well, I never sought out to do this. What I really thought I was going to come to Hollywood and do was sitcoms. I loved variety shows and comedy sketches and sitcoms that were like the Dick Van Dyke Show, I Love Lucy, Mary Tyler Moore Show, the Bob Newhart Show. This is what I grew up on. And I was just like, I ate this kind of comic timing up. And then variety shows like the Carol Burnett Show, Sonny and Cher, Donnie and Marie, musical numbers and comedy sketches. Oh, I loved it. I just like, and that's what I thought I was going to do, right? So I get to Hollywood, California, and one of the first jobs I got was in TV commercials. I started doing lots of TV commercials, and the first thing I got was a commercial for Southwest Airlines in 1986. Mm-hmm. That's a long time ago. And yeah, some of you weren't even born yet. Don't even start with that. I don't want to hear it. Well, you were. I know. but no, and that was the Southwest Airlines commercial, and I played a dancing mummy. So I thought it was my big break. I thought I was going to be like the biggest star ever, and I was wrapped from head to toe in dirty bandages and dancing around like rah, 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 rah. And that was kind of an omen of things to come, wasn't it? Yeah. Well, like the third job I got after that was a job that kind of changed my life and actually marked me as the guy who wears stuff and moves well and does not complain. That's a big one. It was the Mac Tonight campaign for McDonald's. Does anybody remember the Moon? You can't. You're not old enough. But you can see it on YouTube. Right? I mean, everything's on YouTube, right? I think me taking a dump is on YouTube. It is. So I'm just saying, it probably. The crescent moon head that sang at a piano and floated on clouds and about McDonald's burgers. I did 27 commercials. There's a fawn back there. Oh, aren't you precious? Oh my gosh, I just now noticed. Hi. Oh, love for you. Oh, there is love, huh? Yeah. Princess Nuala showed up yesterday. So yeah, she did. That's from Hellboy 2. For those of you who haven't seen it yet, you need to. DVD, November. All right. Anyway, I jumped way ahead of myself. Where were we? Mac Tonight. Oh, right. 27 commercials as that character over a 3-year period. So that ended up being kind of like that really did mark me as the guy who will wear stuff and move in it. But I have a background as a mime. Isn't that disgusting and embarrassing to talk about out loud? You have white face going, yeah, I'm stuck in a box. Nobody likes mimes, really, do they? Not really. I hate them, but I was one. So in college I was in a mime troupe, and we called ourselves Mime Over Matter. That's good. See, that's funny. I know funny. Anyway, so the Mac Tonight commercials went on for 3 years, and that kind of marked me as the guy who, like I said, wears stuff, moves well, doesn't complain. And so my name started getting passed around the creature effects makeup industry. They remembered me, like from one job to the next. Like, oh, we worked with this guy once on this McDonald's commercial. Now that artist or makeup person or sculptor is now working over at Stan Winston Studios or Rick Baker Studios or Tony Gardner's or whatever. So all these big creature effects makeup houses then started hearing my name come up whenever they were creating an alien from outer space or a man something mutant or a zombie, right? So my name came up a lot, and like movies like Hocus Pocus. Anybody see Hocus Pocus? Oh, thank you. There's love road. That's when makeup artist Tony Gardner discovered me, and he's the one who did my makeup as the zombie Billy Butcherson in that movie. And so then from that point forward, then he would refer me for every job that came into his shop. You know, if it was even if it was for a short, heavy black woman, he thought I should do it. He was that big of a fan of mine. Bless his heart, I love Tony Gardner. So that, and then now, and I also, anybody see Batman Returns? Yeah. I was also played the thin clown in that. I was one of Danny DeVito's sidekicks in the Red Triangle Circus Gang. I was the guy who put the homing device in the Batmobile and made it all go crazy. So, and Batman slugged me, and I got hit by the Penguin. I was abused in that movie. So, I had a line, yes. Great speech, Oswald. Now you don't need to see the movie. Okay. That moment's gone. Kiss Cat Bar. Thank you. Where were we? Hocus Pocus. Okay. So this kind of progressed over the last 22 years, where my name's been passed around for creature effects work and that kind of thing. And it kind of kept me sort of under the celebrity radar. I'm the guy who wears a lot of stuff and nobody knows who I am. Great. Which is fine. Actually, it was a nice place to be in. Then I did other movies. Let's see in the meantime. Oh golly, what others? A couple of bad horror films that started my career. Actually, The Newly Deads was one of them. Out on VHS tape. Yeah. We can't even play it anymore. And then let's see. Then I did a horrible movie called Night Angel. And also, it ran in the theater for a week. We have had a great run for a week, and now it's on VHS tape. Later, I'm having a gap here between. Oh! Anybody see Mystery Men? Another superhero spoof movie, right? Anyone know who I was in that? Pencilhead, yes. I had an eraser on my head. Yeah. I'm Pencilhead, and then I'm son of Pencilhead. Yeah, precious. And I'm shocked at how many people know me from that movie. I was on screen for a second and a half, but it's like, you're Pencilhead! How does that happen? You people are not right. You're not right. Yeah. And also, anybody ever see a little movie called The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle? Yeah. I was one of the FBI agents at the end of the film who got turned into a carrot. We've been in captivity for the whole film. Yeah, Robert De Niro had us in captivity, kidnapped, and changed us into vegetables. So there was a radish and a potato, and I was the carrot, of course, because I'm the tall, skinny, red guy. Anyway. Anybody see a horrible movie called Monkey Bone? Actually, I liked it. Though. I did. With Brendan Fraser. I'm in a couple of times. If you have to look closely for the white yeti, a white furry yeti with a blue nose that comes through. Yeah, and a couple. I'd have to pause the machine and go, "That's me." Yeah. Oh. Well, bless your husband, and bless those pause buttons. You really, without the pause button, I have no career. Anyway, So now along comes 1997. And of course, I sprinkled titles in here that go beyond that. But 1997 was an important year for me because I was at home one night and I got a phone call. Doug, can you come down to do a night shoot tonight? And it was somebody from a creature effects shop that I'd never met before, but they heard my name come up. It's like, oh. Well, apparently they were doing reshoots for a movie that was filmed in Canada, and now they were doing reshoots in LA just to get a couple of some additional footage for some scenes. And could I come down and put on this bug costume that a tall, skinny guy in Canada was wearing in the movie? But he's Canadian, can't work in the States, so Doug, are you available? This is the phone call I'm getting. Are you available tonight in a couple hours from now? Like, I am. So I go down and it was a little movie called Mimic. Anybody seen Mimic? Yeah. Mimic, and these overgrown cockroachy bug sort of creatures that end up sort of take on human characteristics and they kind of mimic humans, and it's like, is it a person or is it? Oh, it's a big flying bug that's going to kill me. Ah, right, yeah. And then we kind of took over the New York subway system. So that was Mira Sorvino, Jeremy Northam was in that, and anyway. But the director of that film was a roly-poly, jolly Mexican man named Guillermo del Toro, whom we adore. Don't we love him? I know him. Yeah. Well, I worked on this movie only for 3 days of reshoots, and so it was not a big job for me at all. In fact, I think where you'll see me is in the scene, I think where the bugs first start showing up. Early in the film, there's a Catholic priest who gets killed in the rain outside, and he gets dragged down a storm drain. That was me doing that to him, and I am a Catholic, so don't think ill of me. Anyway, so moving forward, okay. So on my second day, Guillermo del Toro sits at the lunch table across from me, and he was like, "So tell me everything you've been in." Well, I'm talking to him off my mask. Guillermo, I listed off, some other. He wanted to know every creature I played. He was fascinated with monsters, right? So I talked about, he said, "Oh, and what makeup artist was that?" And I'd say, "Well, Stan Winston Studios, or a movie called Tank Girl." Anybody see Tank Girl? Half kangaroo, half man mutant. I also played a half kangaroo, half man mutant in another film, and this is going to be a quiz. Anybody know what that movie might be? Another kangaroos, kung fu fighting. There were 5 of us.
Warriors of Virtue.
Warriors of Virtue. Thank you, Dr. Kitten. Okay. Yes, yeah. I'm the only actor I know that has played a kangaroo man mutant twice. I think I have that title. Yeah. So, Okay, so Guillermo del Toro was listening to all this, and he's taking it all in. And I've worked with Rick Baker, and I worked with, he loved Tony Gardner's work, so he was like, "Oh, who else? What else?" And I'm thinking to myself, this is the director of a large budget studio film, and he's sitting across the table from me, acting like a little fanboy that snuck in to the set. Who let him in here? As I was thinking, are you posing as the director, and you're really just a fanboy? What's going on here? So that charmed the poop out of me. I just loved that man. And before we were done, he said, "Do you have a card?" So I did have cards at the time with a goofy drawing of my face on it that I did myself. It was a profile of me going, and out of my mouth was coming my phone number. I was so clever. So Guillermo gets the card, and he's like, "Oh, that's great," and he puts it in his wallet, right? Well then, so 5 years goes by. Now it's 2002. Okay, I love the man. We had a great day there back in 1997, but I'd gone on to other work, and now it's the year 2002, and I get another phone call. But before I get to the phone call, in the year 2000, I filmed another independent film called Stalled. You can get this on Amazon.com. Maybe you rent it from Netflix. Stalled. Piece of crap, right? But it was an ensemble film, and I played a hilljack from Alabama in it. One of my favorite roles I've ever done. I love that. I was Lynn. I was an auto mechanic. Love me some Lynn. Okay, anyway. 2002. Now it's 2002. Phone rings again, right? Hey, it was Steve Wang on the phone. Steve Wang he's a brilliant art. Oh, you know Steve Wang. Yeah. He's a brilliant artist and makeup creator, sculptor, fellow designer, and I worked with him on a couple of jobs. And he's calling me from a restaurant with people sitting around the table, and they had been discussing me. And apparently, what had happened earlier that day was they had been at a new shop, a new creature effects shop called Spectral Motion. Spectral Motion was hired to design a character for a new movie that was coming out, an adaptation of a comic book. And they had sculpted this beautiful maquette, we call it. This is like a mini version of what this character is going to look like full size. And it was a fish man mutant character for a movie called Hellboy. And so they finally come to a final design, and Guillermo del Toro arrives that day to approve this. And apparently, as the story goes, when Guillermo saw this long, lean, elegant sort of fishman character, he fell to his knees and said, "Oh, I am so fat." Which I think was his way of saying, "I love that sculpture." I think that's what he meant by that. But it was precious. He makes fun of himself all the time. I love that man. So he loved the design, and then the sculptor and the creature effects shop owner, they all start saying, "You know who this really looks like? This sculpture. It looks like Doug Jones." And then somebody else would say, like, "Oh yeah, I worked with Doug on this other." This is how my name got passed around. Remember, right? I'm the whore of creature effects. So yeah, I worked with Doug. That does look like Doug. And then Guillermo del Toro said, "Doug Jones. I know Doug Jones." And he pulled my card out of his wallet 5 years later. So this is how Hellboy happened for me. Yeah. So thankfully, isn't that a good story? Yeah. So the Hellboy movie is really what cemented my relationship with Guillermo del Toro. That's really where we got to know each other really well, and the trust was built up, and the communication without many words. Then after Hellboy, I went on and did a couple more jobs, and then all of a sudden I get an email one day, a couple years later, and it's from Guillermo del Toro, and he's telling me that he's in Spain working on pre-production of his next film. And it's something that I absolutely have to be in. He said, there's a fawn character that I want you to play that no one else can possibly play. And I've attached a script and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh really? So when someone tells you, a director of his stature tells you that no one else can play this part but you, it's very intimidating. Because I'm sure I'm going to let him down. I'm sure I'm going to ruin the whole movie. I was sure of it. And then I read this script. It was an English translation of this script, and it was absolutely gorgeous. Right? I just read a script like a couple days before of a schlocky horror film that didn't really interest me. And then now to read this piece of art, this beauty, it was a page turner, and by the time I got to the last page, beautiful. So I wrote back to him and said, yes, of course I have to be in this. Thank you so much. You just saved my life. And he also said in this email that he wanted me to play a character called the Pale Man, Hombre Pálido. So I took note of that as well. And then it hit me that, I read an English script. It's going to be in Spanish. Yeah, I don't know Spanish. Right? And there was a lot of dialogue. Yeah, the Fawn character talked a lot. All of the exposition, all the, hey, hello, princess. Here's who you are. Here's where you come from. Here's where you have to get back to. Here's how you get there. Rules. And all the Fawn in Spanish. So I'm like, now I was sure I'm going to ruin this movie. This is the end of my career, and this is the end of Guillermo's career. I'm going to bring us all down. I was sure of it. Yeah. But Guillermo is one of those directors that knows his actors better than we do. He knows our strengths and our weaknesses. He knows our limitations, but he knows, and he really trusts us and what we bring to the table. So he apparently knew something about this character and about me, but I didn't, and I'm really glad that he pushed forward, because I tried to get out of it. I told him I can't do it, and he's like, yeah, of course you can. Anyway, so Pans Labyrinth came about, and it became one of the most satisfying roles of my life, and movies, and it was such a piece of art. When you're walking down the red carpet at the Oscars a year later, and you're being interviewed by Joan Rivers, and you're talking about Pans Labyrinth, something really wonderful happened with that project. You know what I'm saying? And something we can all be proud of. With 6 nominations and 3 wins at the Oscars, it was just like a great graduation night for us. So anyway, then from there, of course, a little movie happened after Pans Labyrinth, called Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer. All right. Well, all right, there's love there. So I got to know a whole new character. The Silver Surfer was, wow. I went to a comic book store, because I'm not as familiar with comic books as you guys are. When I grew up, I read the Archies. That's what I knew in comic books. Yeah. So wait, there's superheroes? What, really? So I had to go back. I went to a comic book store down in Burbank, California. I went to a comic. I love me some Kit Kats. I do. I went to a comic book store down in Burbank, and I went to the pale-faced kid behind the counter. The kind that never comes out of his mom's basement except to go to work at the comic book store. You know what I'm talking about? And I said, Silver Surfer, what do you know? What do you have? He's like, oh. And he goes in and just pulls all in. So I went home like, thank you. And so I started looking at the Silver Surfer, his origins, and his all about the love that, oh my gosh. And I fell madly in love with the Silver Surfer. Like from the Stan Lee written comic books and the Jack Kirby artwork. Oh my gosh. Such beautiful poses, such ballet and yet such strength, all in the same character, and such philosophy and such, poetry coming from the Silver Surfer's mouth. I love him. And seeing his origins, that he sacrificed himself to become the Silver Surfer in order to save his own planet. Very Christ-like, and it meant a lot to me to play a character like that as well. So that became like a real love project for me. So, I hope you guys liked it too. I hope so. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Yes. Were you waving at me? Okay. Hi. I should tell people. Okay. Oh, it's a Silver Surfer?
Not CGI.
Okay, yeah. The big question comes up about, they thought that, everyone thinks that the Silver Surfer was motion capture for digital CGI. It was not as you would think, exactly. I was in makeup and costume every day. I looked like the Silver Surfer when I walked out of my trailer. And I was hot. I'm not gonna lie. I had an ass that would not quit. I did. I mean, I don't in real life. That's why I'm sitting down right now. I don't want you to see it. But yeah. But
should let you take it home with you.
I wanted to take the suit home so I could wear it to the beach. I did. Because when you walk out of your trailer and you look, this whole transformed, like, I'm the Silver Surfer. People reacted to me differently. You know what I mean? We had extras on the set, and they'd be like, "Hi." The surfer was just stunning. I can't take credit for it because it was put on me. So thanks. But but when you saw me in all my glory with all the power and on the surfboard, there was some digital enhancement, yes. And there were some scenes, of course, that were digitized completely, much like Spider-Man, right? Tobey Maguire puts his hood on and goes jumping between buildings. Well, that wasn't Tobey, right? I mean, that was, you can tell a couple times there were some computer graphics that took the place of. And the same thing for the Silver Surfer. There were some stunts and things that I would never have been able to do. But when I lost my surfboard and was powered down, got tarnished looking, remember that? That was no CG except a little bit over my eyes to take the blue away. And the rest was the costume and makeup. So that was like you could reach out and touch me. Rubber. Yeah. And that was one of my favorite scenes, I think, in the whole movie for me, was when Sue Storm, Jessica Alba, gorgeous, comes walking, it's stunning in person. You're like this far from her going, you're flawless, child, flawless. But when she came into to my interrogation room, and I was like strapped down to the table, and she was asking me, "Who are you? What are you? What's all this about?" And I produced like an image on my chest of what I've done to other planets and things. She's like, "Oh, it's a horrible." Yeah. So that was one of my favorite scenes, just because it was such a nice dialogue and such a nice connection moment for the two of us when she grabbed my hand. Oh, precious. We had love there for a minute, didn't we? Jessica Alba and me. Just saying. Okay, so she's married now with a kid, whatever. But Cash Warren. Anyway, that's his name. So then moving on from there, after the Silver Surfer, then I moved on to another little movie called Hellboy 2: The Golden Army. Right? Yay! How much fun was that? Yeah. And I'll tell you, being able to reprise a role like Abe Sapien, who I fell in love with so. I mean, I think Abe is probably. I love all the characters I've played, but Abe I think is my favorite now because I've gotten to know him so well. Over 2 feature films now, and 2 animated films that I voiced, and also a video game that I voiced. It's like Abe and I are like this, inseparable. And hopefully there's a Hellboy 3, as I'm contracted for one in case we get the chance to make that. I sure hope so. So and there's questions about that. I'm sure that seems to be a question that comes up a lot, so I'll answer it for you. Which is there going to be a Hellboy 3? Well. There's always been plans to make a Hellboy 1, 2, and 3, and so now it's going to be a question of schedule, and because Guillermo del Toro is now committed through 2012 doing The Hobbit, and after that he's got a 5-year commitment with Universal Pictures with a whole slate of 4 more films, and Hellboy 3 was not mentioned in that slate, so I'm not sure what happens there. So, but. There's been some talk, maybe possibly, of if he doesn't have time for that he would produce and write, and then get one of his friends. Help. What are his directors? The 3 amigos. There's Alfonso. Yeah. Yeah. Or Alejandro.
Yeah. He has that last name. I can never remember.
Yeah. But anyway, if he could get one of his trusted buddies to direct, and then that would be something we would all be in favor of. That we could do that. So that's the Hellboy 3 news that I know right now, which is not much. Other news, let's see, the other question that comes up a lot is, speaking of The Hobbit, Doug, anything? That comes up a lot. Well, and Guillermo and I have never talked about it really ourselves together, hey, he'll talk to the press before he'll talk to me. At least he has. And that's okay, because he doesn't usually bring up casting ideas and things. He doesn't discuss things with me until it's time, until we have something concrete to talk about. And right now, he just started writing the script for The Hobbit with a whole team of people, and he's been quoted as saying that it's the most exciting writing project of his life to take a book like that he loves so much and to adapt it. We were at the red carpet of the Saturn Awards. Anybody ever watched the Saturn Awards or heard that's the sci-fi or comic book Oscars, basically. And we were at the Saturn Awards in June, a couple months ago. And on the red carpet there, in the press line, I was being interviewed by somebody on camera, and Guillermo del Toro came walking up. Because I was there to present a couple of awards that night, and he was there to receive like a Lifetime Achievement Award. He's only 43 years old, so I'm not sure why that happened. But well, as he said, though, when he got up to accept his Lifetime Achievement Award, he said, "Perhaps the Academy knows something about my health that I don't." Bless his heart. Our last chance to get him, before he kicks it. He stepped up and was on camera with me in this interview, like, "Oh, hey." Well, the journalist says, "So, Guillermo, what do you have for Doug in The Hobbit?" We hadn't talked about it, so I said, "Well, this ought to be interesting." Yeah, I'd love to hear this. So he said, "Well, I'm sure I'll be putting Doug through some kind of pain and torture, of course." Business as usual, thank you. And then he said, "Of course I have nothing official to report yet, but let me say this. If I direct a hemorrhoid commercial, Doug Jones will be in it." So I think that's our answer, okay? I'm going to be playing a hemorrhoid in The Hobbit. It's a liberty from the book, yes, but... oh, bless his heart. So, he hasn't committed to what role or how many roles, but I'm looking forward to whatever he does come up with for me. Hopefully something, yeah.
Hopefully something you can see.
Yeah, it'd be nice. It'd be nice to have eyes of my own this time. A boy can dream, can't he? Or maybe to do some character study for the first time that doesn't involve going to the zoo. I would love that. But, yeah. Anyway, but also, what's another question? Another question that comes up all the time that I'll go ahead and ask, and that is, are we expecting another Silver Surfer movie anytime soon? Right? A Silver Surfer solo movie, which is what the intention, I believe, was all along, was to introduce the Silver Surfer in the Fantastic Four movies as he was introduced in the comic books, and then to have him spin off to do his own franchise. So I did do a standard 3-picture deal that is very common whenever you're doing a franchise potential character like that. So 20th Century Fox has the option to use me for 2 more films as the Surfer at this moment. A script was written for a Surfer standalone movie over a year ago, and the studio has been sitting on it ever since. So I'm not really sure where it's at right now. Seems like the more time that passes, the more forgetted it becomes. How about forgotten? It could be forgotten. Well, forget it. That's my favorite word now. I forgetted my grammar. I did. Idiot. Yeah. I forgetted that I went to college. Yeah, just now. So anyway. So the Surfer, what happens of that, we don't know. Because, I think that the Fantastic Four Rise of the Silver Surfer as a movie made a little bit less at the box office, just slightly under what the first Fantastic Four made. So as a studio head, I would be a little bit unsure also. If there's any insecurities about how it might perform financially, that might be a concern. Who knows? But I would love to revisit the character for sure. I love the Silver Surfer. I would love to delve into his backstory. I would love to, crawl into him one more time just to have, love him. Just love him. So those are the questions that I can ask myself and answer for you. Anybody else? Questions? Oh, and the way I did right here. Yes.
Tell us about your nomination. How you
Thank you. Yes. Nomination. I have been nominated for my first televised awards show. It would be Spike TV's Scream Awards. Anybody here? Yeah. I've been nominated for Best Supporting Performance for Abe Sapien and Hellboy 2. Yeah, I know, right? Thank you. So now I'm going to do a commercial. Here's how you can help. Apparently the voting is online for you guys. I wasn't aware of how the voting happened because I hadn't seen the show before myself. But it is an online voting thing. So you can go to spike.com. Spike.com, and then you can look for the Scream Awards, the 2008 Scream Awards. Click your way to the right page and look for Best Supporting Performance category, and you'll see me against some really heavy hitters. So this is why I need your help. I'm up against Michael Caine from Batman Dark Knight. I'm up against Gary Oldman from Batman Dark Knight. This is going to be hard. Jason Bateman from Hancock, I think. Terrence Howard from Iron Man. And Shia LaBeouf from Indiana Jones. So it doesn't bode well for me, but that's why I need your help. Get on there and vote, and tell all your friends, okay? Can you do that for me? Spike.com, Scream Awards, vote. Promise me. Okay. And then they'll tell two friends, and then they'll tell two friends. See, this is how it works. Okay, good. Okay. Yes, back here.
Do you measure time in the makeup chair by hours or by books on tape?
Oh. Books on tape is a good idea, isn't it? It really is. Wow, I'm going to try that. Why have I never thought of that before? Because I don't read. So I could listen, couldn't I? I have time. By hours, absolutely. In the makeup trailer, often, thank goodness for laptops and the internet now. We have YouTube. We'll pull up all kinds of funny things on YouTube and tell stories, listen to music. Sleep a little bit sometimes. I'll admit that. Yeah, I do tilt off some. Right here, I'll get right back here. Yeah.
Can you just talk a little bit about working with Joss Whedon on Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Yeah, I forgot to mention that in my little spiel here. Yeah, did we all see the Hush episode? In fact, I just played it a minute ago, right? Yeah. Had the best time on that show. I've guest starred on several TV shows. Oh, speaking of which, I'm going to do a little commercial again. I just guest starred on an episode of Criminal Minds. Anybody see Criminal Minds on CBS? I guest starred on an episode of that 2.5 years ago in their first season. I played a methamphetamine junkie from Tennessee named Domino Thacker. They caught me in my front yard running around in my underwear. It was hot. And there's a steady cam on my ass as I'm running up. No, I'm seriously, any closer that I would have had a colonoscopy. I would have. Anyway, but I digress. But the current episode I just did has not aired yet, so keep watching CBS on is it Wednesday night? Is that when it is? Yeah. There you go. I did a character that's completely wrong for me. But they came to me and said, they just offered me, they came to me and said, you've got to play this part. So, I was a Fight Club captain. A badass. Did you ever see Fight Club? Brad Pitt and Ed Norton and... But they're like, no, we gotta have you done. So I shaved my hair off to at least get somewhat of a more badass look. I'm not a badass. No, there's no such. I'm a skinny ass. That's what I am. All the stunt guys and extras were these big buff, like yeah. Tear your head off by looking at you. And here I am, like I'm the organizer of this. I'm the head guy. Yeah. So I put a little bit of crazy behind the eyes, and I think I pulled it off. I hope. You guys watch and you'll tell me, okay? Okay. So now wait. Joss Whedon, all right. I got sidetracked. We went way off. Yeah, the train tracks are way over there somewhere. We went off a cliff hours ago. When you guest star on a TV show, you never know where. Sometimes it's forgotten as quickly as it's aired. But you get on a show like Buffy, and I had not been a follower or a fan of the show myself. It's a time issue for me with television, getting to watch it. So I had no idea how loyal the fan base was for that show, and how really clever and funny and interesting and well written that show is. So Joss Whedon, creator of the show, he basically wrote that episode, and which he did not write every episode, apparently, right? He wrote that episode and he directed that episode. So he came down out of his office to get really hands-on involved with that show. So that's when we knew it was kind of special, because I knew that didn't happen often. The entire crew knew that this was going to be an interesting show, and it was also very daring because. With television, they always want to stimulate all your senses, right? Like, don't turn the channel, la 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 la, right? So that means all your senses need to be stimulated, including sound, right? Well, in the Hush episode, we took all the dialogue away, right? I stole everyone's voice in Sunnydale. Well, that's to go over half of the show in complete silence was daring, never been done before on television. And the network was like, I don't know. I remember hearing this like while we were filming. It's like the network was really edgy about we're going to lose viewers over this, and the opposite thing happened. That Hush episode became a fan favorite. It's like that is among two episodes that I always hear about: Hush and the musical
what's
episode.
more with feeling?
What's more with feeling? Right, exactly right. So what the effect that it had in the end was silence, and instead of people being like bored and turning the channel, they were drawn into it more. I'm watching. Right? So that ended up being like Emmy nominated, and to this day the show's been off the air for a while. And, well, not off the air. Reruns are constant, but and the magazine keeps going. That's a whole world, isn't it? And to this day, I still get people coming up at the conventions and going, "I loved you in Buffy," which I thank you for that. That's really, really sweet. So anyway, thank you for asking. Yes.
In so many of your roles, you're the guy in the suit. Do you actually prefer that, or do you actually like to get out of the makeup once in a while and just play yourself or play an actor?
Johnny.
Yeah.
Yes. Hi.
Hey.
I recognize your picture. Yeah. Wow, that's a good question. I think for me, it's acting is acting, in or out of makeup. It's all. You still have to find the heart and soul of a character, no matter what he is. I like to think of it as a whole meter. Let's say on this side is a white guy in t-shirt who's skinny and kind of goofy with an overbite. That's me. Okay. Over here, we've got, something like a fawn from Pans Labyrinth, where it's like heavily made up, 5 hours, and clumping around on stilts, and the horns coming out of my head, and like, right? And everything in between. So in here somewhere might be a vampire, and here some might be a little zombie, right? Varying degrees of makeup. Every character in this entire spectrum needs to have his heart and soul discovered, and to have they all have intentions and desires, wants, fears, even, whatever. So acting is acting. And somewhere along the way, somebody drew a line right in here that actors get to here, and then from here over to here is a what we call a suit performer. And I want to erase that line, because I don't believe that there's such a thing as a suit performer. I believe that it takes an actor to do all of it. So this has been like the torch that I've been trying to carry through Hollywood. So we're actors, damn it, So and I think that with in the last couple of years, a certain dignity has come back to that kind of acting that Boris Karloff and Lon Chaney and Bela Lugosi were able to feel and live in a certain respect for what they did as movie stars in Hollywood, like anyone else. With the Hellboy movie, that became my speck on the radar when and then Pans Labyrinth and the Silver Surfer and now Hellboy 2. For me personally, I've experienced a change in how people refer to me. In the press, when I was being interviewed, I would often get referred to as Doug Jones, mime artist, or Doug Jones, movement specialist, or Doug Jones, stuntman. I mean, okay, how about actor? How about that? Like, can we try that one? Yeah. So I think about 5 minutes. Okay, thank you. I think I finally got them trained. That's how they're referring to me now, mostly is as an actor again. I'll tell you what the difference is, though. When doing a role like did anyone see my Fear Itself episode on NBC recently?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really good.
Thank you. That was very minimal makeup. Fear Itself was a great show, it's kind of like an anthology series where every episode every week is a different mini movie directed by a notable horror film director. Masters of Horror. Anybody see that? Yeah. This is the same producers. So it went from Showtime over to network NBC. It's a little bit more tame on NBC. In my episode of Fear Itself, I played like a family guy. I was a dad of 2 kids and a husband, and I'd been missing in the mountains for 10 days, and I came home having been possessed by a Wendigo spirit up in the mountains, and I lost 60 pounds. That's why they cast me. Who can we get that looks like he's lost 60 pounds? Oh! So, directed by Larry Fessenden, who's a wonderful director. He did a movie recently called The Last Winter with Ron Perlman, my friend Ron Perlman, and he also directed a movie called Wendigo. Anyway, so, but in that episode, I was very minimal makeup, was mostly my face, and I was even not dressed fully the entire time. I went through half the episode shirtless. So, going from an Abe Sapien type thing where you've got a Fishman mutant where I'm covered from head to toe, my own real eyes aren't showing, you know, I'm looking through tear ducts and I feel very masky, you know, to being that exposed, shirtless even, on camera. The difference is, it's like walking out of your house in a sweater or walking out of your house in a Speedo. That's the difference. It's still me, either way, right? It's still me putting a performance and putting my personality out there in some way, but one of them, the neighbors don't look funny at you, and the other, the neighbors do look funny at you, right? And so it's just a matter of comfort on my part, you know. If you walk out of your house in a Speedo enough times, you get used to it, and then your neighbors get used to it, and everybody's fine with it, you know? Especially with a body like mine. They're fine with it, okay? So kidding. Anyway, so and now comes the embarrassing picture time. Okay, so we'll do this. Now we're having a panel discussion, okay? That's what I'm talking about. Okay. And he looks at his camera and goes, So, anywho, and I've got one more question. One more. Yes, love, right here.
Do you get a lot of freedom with your characters, or are you strictly directed with your movement? How you should move around?
No, I do have. It depends on the director, really. To me, a director is the director of the film is the storyteller. That's why you'll see a film by so and so, and that's the director's name. It's his story to tell, and I feel like my position in that movie is to be a well-placed piece on the game board that the director is playing, right? So it depends. Some directors give me a lot of freedom. They give me a certain parameter that they want the character to fall under and things, and then I can play around with it, and they either like it or they don't, or they'll redirect me or something. Then some directors are very specific and want very specific things. So, and I'm willing to do whichever. I don't feel any sort of like, but this isn't what I planned. You know, I'm not that way. I try to stay very flexible that way. And so, in the case of Guillermo del Toro, my favorite director ever, he's a combination of both. He's got very specific ideas in his mind, but he's also very willing to hear suggestions. He's also very adaptable. If something's not working like he had thought in his mind on set, and then the change happens, he's like, oh, that's better. I like that. We'll keep that. A case in point would be in Hellboy 2, The Golden Army. You saw it, right? You told me you did. Okay. The scene where Princess Nuala and Abe Sapien are having their first little love chat in the library. They're getting to know each other, right? And at the end of that scene, the princess says, you know, after she kind of admits that she likes Abe too, and she's never met anybody like him before, and he's like, oh, right? She says, good night, Abraham, and she walks past him. That was the end of the scene originally. Well, what I added in, Guillermo said that wasn't enough of a button at the end of the scene. He wanted something more than her saying good night and walking off. So, on set, on the day, is when I came up with, good night, Your Highness, Your Princess, ma'am? Ma'am. Right. That's where that came from. Was just me adding it, and Guillermo going, I like it, we'll keep it. So that's my story. And I think that my time is done. Thank you so much for coming out today. Blah, 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 blah. Thank you very much.